Amy and I have wrapped up our road trip back to Pennsylvania. We're moving into my childhood home with Smitty, about 20 minutes from our new property. This is the house I grew up in, and the house he built when he was my age back in the early 80s. Years later, after building hundreds of houses for other families, my dad would go on to build his parents' home just a couple of miles down the road. Through this process of finding old photos and driving to my grandparents' house in the snow, I've been reminded that these homes are much more than buildings. They are the backdrop of some of the best moments in my life. Recognizing the memories that Smitty has built with his own hands is one of the many reasons I wanted to tell this story. Let's build a house.
A 1 o'clock meeting with Susan?
Sure, I'll tell her you're coming in. Please put on a mask before you come in, and you're welcome to join us.
Thank you.
Well, for the last couple months, we have been working endlessly to obtain a building permit. Luckily, we have Smitty here to help.
Hi, I'm Smitty. Matt and Amy have asked me to try to lay out for you in a brief fashion some of the issues that we're encountering trying to acquire a building permit from the township we're working in. I've been doing this a long time, and this particular project, although everyone's been helpful, the Sunoco pipeline people, the surveyors, the civil engineers, the township, the septic engineers and enforcement officers, everyone's been a great help. But this one has had more hurdles and obstacles to it than I've encountered on an individual private property, I would say, ever. So we're going to spend a few minutes here, try not to bore you. We'll give you the Cliff Notes versions of what these obstacles have been.
If I switch in the house, if I switch the house at the front, I guess the front porch is now parallel with the pipeline as it goes off the property.
That's kind of what we're saying.
All right, I can look at that.
Yeah, I mean, don't want to go that far if we can help it, but I think that's the only direction we can go, Gus. Okay, what you're looking at here, here's the property lines of what is about a 3 3/4 acre property that includes issues like wetlands, pipelines, and a lot that will not perk. Perk meaning that its ability to filtrate stormwater and sewage, etc. In Amy's first desire, where this driveway enters from here, she had hoped to move the house this way with a more central look at the house coming down the driveway. This is what we were able to come to. This is the closest we could get that house to where she wanted center because of these other issues. In our attempt to move the house to center, we realized that the original survey did not include a wetland study, everything south of the pipeline. So we were held up for a month trying to get the wetlands engineers out there. We then needed our surveyor to survey his flagging. Once it was determined exactly where the wetlands were on this side of the pipeline, from there, we're gauging here, you can see the gray lines, what is called a riparian buffer, another 35 foot required that we have to stay out of. We can't be near these wetlands, which constricts our ability to spread this lot out a little bit. This was submitted to the township. Many trees had to come down here. We had to work with Sunoco, crossing over with equipment to put stormwater over here. We still have a stream discharge septic system that has to be over here. And somewhere in this area will be a well, not designated yet. When this was submitted to the township, they came back with many comments regarding how we're encroaching slightly on the riparian buffer in these areas here. Also over here, we're encroaching on the riparian buffer, and across here. Seems sort of petty, but we're trying to work with everybody here and get this thing to happen. This is the closest we could get the house to the middle of the property, even with all this in mind. The number of comments and the concerns that were handed back to us has led us now to rethink the entire project. We're now well into January. We decided we're going to go back to the engineers and we're going to give up the idea of putting stormwater over here. It's going to go back in this area, and I'm going to show you now the new design, which is being submitted officially in about a week. This is now what we believe more workable. We're staying completely out of the entire wooded area and the wetland area and the riparian buffer down here. It's out of the picture. We're now also away from the 50-foot easement of the pipelines. The house, we've tilted it slightly so the view off the side porch here is looking down through a huge valley and some beautiful foliage and whatnot, unencumbered. And now stormwater is being placed pretty much right next to the house. Fortunately, the stormwater basin, as designed, is only about a 24-inch depression. Now, obviously, we got to get our filtration beds and whatnot down in here, but we're clear of the riparian buffer. We have the ability to handle stormwater for what they call a 100-year storm. The house is tucked back further in the corner. Amy has now accepted and realized, as we all have, that keeping it back here may be the better job. The approach coming up this road and not having the house blocking this, what is a gorgeous view through here, and then having a slight right-hand look, having the house facing this way, is probably in the long run a better look. The only other thing now that we're going to have to do before we dig a hole is we have to walk this property, and you see here's these 42-inch silver maple, 36-inch silver maple. One of the benefits of moving the house this way and moving stormwater this way is these are the only two major trees that we're going to have to replace. We'll have to replace this with 3 trees, and I believe this one will have to be 3 trees also, of a minimum 3-inch caliber. This 16-inch tree will have to come down, but that would only be replaced as a 1-to-1 ratio. We will stay completely out of the easement of the pipelines. No air bridges or steel bridges needed to cross this area with equipment. All these trees here, a couple monsters, would have had to been replaced had we put stormwater over here. So now we're staying completely out of this area, and the only encroachment we'll have on this site outside of this building area will be stormwater and then this sewage treatment here, and it will discharge down through here, which was designed by an outside engineer, submitted to DEP for approval. What they call the planning modules have been approved and were approved last August, yet in this world of COVID, nobody in DEP is working in their offices. Nobody official is there to hand back to us a final permit, which we need in order for the township to give us a green light to go ahead and dig a hole and build a house. In the meantime, we've asked if they could look at letting us put a permit for a temporary holding tank over here in line with where septic and sewer will ultimately go. They love the idea. It's gone to the Board of Supervisors. They've approved it. It has to be stamped official Tuesday night. At that point, now I say Tuesday night, I think that's the 7th of February by now. At that point, our civil engineer will submit his final. This is going to be tweaked a little bit. We got a couple little things to move here, but he will then resubmit the civil plan, hopefully meeting all the criteria. we're hoping we get a thumbs up in the next week or two and get ready to go. He made contact with DEP on Friday and said the response he got when he asked, when can I resubmit this? The only answer he got was not yet. So I said, I think it's probably somewhat COVID related, whatever they're doing or not doing there. We are just hovering like a balloon with the DEP, although we're going to get your permit. Everything's been approved, the work is done. I'm going to go back to my question to you Friday. Is it reasonable for us to come to Edgemont Township and say, guys, even if we say, hey, we don't get a UNO, but could you guys consider, if we can meet all the commentary from Yerkes and make some adjustments in our civil plan, would you guys consider issuing us a building permit, knowing that the septic permit is on the way, but not hold us up on construction?
We have never issued, to the best of my knowledge, issued a grading permit and a building permit until there's a septic permit. I can ask, but I can't promise you that it's going to be favorable, you know.
Yeah.
I can ask.
Well, I guess we have our hat in our hands here. We're kind of stymied by this, obviously. I've got 2 young people living in my house with their dog, and nobody's impatient, but everybody's like, hey, are we going to build this?
Right.
And I appreciate if you're kind of helping us out by even asking. I think it's a reasonable, justifiable request. Love to come talk to the powers that be if we could, but.
That's not going to. I don't think that's going to make a difference.
Okay.
But I'll let you know. I'll let you know if for some reason it does.
Well, a couple days after this phone call, our township manager informed us that the Board of Supervisors would like us to attend their monthly meeting to explain the issues we're having with our septic system permit. If this meeting goes well, we could leave with a building permit. If not, our 6-month stalemate continues.
Oh, I ain't gonna live like this no more. Most of my life's been waging war till I found peace. I could have swore what she did shook me to the core, and I ain't gonna live like that no